Ladies and gentlemen, I must first thank Jaipuria Institute of Management for inviting me to speak. I must thank them on two counts. One, for this, and second, they made me a professor, which I am not.
Sorry about that, sir.
That's all.
But anyone who stands here is by default a professor.
Yes, that is very true, sir.
Now, the topic here is emerging trends in global financial markets. Now, before understanding this market, you must understand how this subject finance itself has come. If the Industrial Revolution had not taken place in the 18th century, economics would not have come, Adam Smith would not have written his book, Wealth of Nations, and finance would not have been born. So it's technology which has driven everything. If Michael Faraday and James Clerk Maxwell were not there, we would not have had electricity today. So it's technology is the biggest driver, and all the trends which will take place in the emerging markets will be mainly because of technology. Now, internet and computerization came in late 80s, early 90s, and that has changed the whole world. That has changed the whole world, and now even banking and finance, internet will be mainly used. Even for shopping, internet will be used. So this technology is a big change. It changes everything. But to understand what should be the emerging trends, basically in India, we must study the history also. History gives us a good insight. Now, recently, we should not go to 1929, but recently in 2008, when there was a slowdown, they call it a slowdown, many banks collapsed all over Europe and USA. There was industrial slowdown, loss of jobs, negative growth of GDP in many countries, and it all started from the banking sector. It all started from the banking sector. From 2001 to 2007, there's a boom all over the world. This came mainly as a result of low interest rates and innovations, that means banking innovations. But they were not backed with collateral, so the bank started collapsing. And once the bank is, and the financial system is the backbone of the whole economy, so the economy collapsed all over the world. Even in India, in order to give a boost to the economy, indirect taxes were reduced. Later on, they have been increased because India requires revenue also. But India did not suffer so much in 2008. It is suffering now after 2011. There are various reasons for that also. In fact, in 2010, we had a very good growth, nearly about 8.7 or 8.8%. So, but why did this happen? This 2008. It started because the people in Wall Street, they wanted bigger, fatter bonus. The shareholders wanted more money. So the banks started innovating. Once they innovated, sometimes the bubble has to break. When the bubble burst up, then this collapse happened. In fact, this crisis was visible earlier, 1 year earlier in 2007, it would happen in 2008. But in the Indian crisis of 2011, is one of the worst which we are having. The inflation is about 10% for the last so many years. And the government has no funds. Our current account deficit is very high. It became unmanageable. So this has resulted mainly due to various other factors. The factors are court decisions, scams. So these are items which affect the market and the financial market as such. Inflation has led to higher interest rate. Higher interest rate means greater cost, and greater cost means your products are not competitive enough. It raises prices. So for economy to do well, the manufacturing or industrial sector has to do well, the agriculture has to do well, and infrastructure. Then in India there are also infrastructure problems. We don't have power in nearly half the country. So in the coming years, say after 2014 election, when the policy paralysis will will go away. Then what will happen is there will more infrastructure requires its funds. So fund requirement will be much higher, and foreign direct investment will also start coming. Now in these years, because of this social spending or things like Manrega and large subsidy which has been rolled out by the government is in a tight position. All the credit is being taken over by the government. Even in the agriculture sector, they have fixed up a minimum support price. Now, minimum support price is only in wheat and rice. So what is happening is nobody is growing oilseeds, nobody is growing dal, and even the vegetable acreage has come down. And in Punjab, they are growing rice during the summer months from tube well water. So what will happen to the water level, God knows. So it is creating a big distortion in the economy. It is creating a big distortion in the economy, and what the government has done last year, it asked FCI to procure 25 million tons of grains. They procured 65 million tons of grains. The subsidy level has also gone up, which has led to this pressure and the interest rates going up. Once the interest rates go up and inflation goes up and interest rates go up, it is no more a very viable economy. So foreign direct investment decreases. In between, hardly any foreign direct investment was there. Now with all these scams and difficulty in doing business in India, what is happening is many people are moving out. If you see all our big companies, they are not investing in India, but they are investing out. For example, Tata Group. They have taken Tetley, they have taken Chorus, but they are not investing so much in India. And even the projects which were announced in 1991, like FDI, like POSCO Group, it has hardly started. So there has to be there is a policy paralysis, you can say it, or there is an environment and another issue which has to be, which is a main bottleneck for investment. In fact, India and China constitute a major segment of the emerging markets. Studies show that by 2020, 50% of the world's GDP will come from the emerging markets. And therefore, in years to come, the demand for credit will be much higher and financial market has to grow. And the investment will come in distribution chains, transportation, telecom, water, land, etc. Urbanization will grow, and all that will lead to GDP growth, and that will require again finance. But the main thing is the government has to cut down its expenditure. If it does not cut down the expenditure, does not balance its budget, there will be a huge deficit. There will be current account deficit will be there, inflation will be there, and what will happen is more taxes will be levied in order to bridge the gap. Now, one issue which was one of the factors which is taken to be why FDI decreased was the uncertainty in the tax administration. The retrospective amendment of the tax laws created a big problem, and people thought twice about investing in India. Similarly, transfer pricing in the Income Tax Act worked as a deterrence. In the coming years, the tax department is going to pay more attention to tax deduction source and transfer pricing even for domestic transactions. Now, one thing I was dealing with was competition. Competition is something that no one knows about it. In fact, the first competition law came in Canada in 1889, in US in 1890. There's a study by McKinsey which says that US is ahead of Europe just because competition law. Competition law is, finance may be available, everything is available, but the market is controlled by a few people, like cartels or like some people abuse the dominance, so they do not allow a new person to come in the market. This well-placed regulator known as Competition Commission of India was created in 2002, and this law it works on three parts. One is anti-competitive agreements, second is abuse of dominance, and third is merger and acquisition. Because what used to happen if they broke the cartel, or if somebody was penalized for abuse of dominance, then they used to merge companies and create monopolies. So these three aspects are what competition law is about. So the whole idea of competition law is to ensure that everyone gets entry in the market and nobody is restrained from doing that. So even if finance is available and if somebody cannot enter the market, then it does not help. So in the coming years we will see more of competition law in this country that will affect the emerging trends even in finance. And now this law is in 120 countries, the competition law. US is having it since 1890, the Europe got it in 1957. And India we got it in 2009. So we are 120 years behind USA in this. And I was requested to cut down my speech to now to 20 minutes. So now I'll conclude. We could have spoken much more on the topic. But I promised 20, so it's 20. Thank you.